Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to our 98th online Kashmir Cultural Heritage Awareness series. Today is our book review session. As you know that we have been regularly conducting book reviews, and today it's going to be Rohini Vaishnavi's book, Doon, that we will be reviewing jointly with Dr. Gnanam, along with the author, Rohini Vaishnavi. We will first begin with the prayer that's going to be rendered by Dr. Gnanam.
Maitrim bhajata akila hrijayatrim. Maitrim bhajata akila hrijayatrim. Atmavadeva paranapi pasyata. Atmavadeva paranapi pasyata. Yuddham tyajata spardham tyajata. Yuddham tyajata spardham tyajata. Tyajata pareshwar kramamakramanam. Tyajata pareshwar kramamakramanam. Maitri bhajata akila hrijayatrim.
Thank you, Dr. Gnanam. That is really very nice, and we really appreciate that you joined us for prayer today. And amidst your tight schedule with patients waiting outside, we thank Sri Kanchimat for our ongoing Kashmir initiatives and offer our namaskarams to His Holiness Sri Shankar Vijayendra Saraswati Swamigal. Kanchimat has been in the forefront, modestly working with the sole aim of national integration, spiritual enlightenment, and preserving the uniqueness of Kashmir, as Kashmir is our cultural heritage. As you know, we have been conducting book review sessions, and they are usually handled by Rohini ji. Today, Rohini ji will be joined by Dr. Gnanam and me, and we will be reviewing the book. Rohini ji has conducted around 8 book reviews so far, right, Rohini ji? We have conducted about 8 book reviews. And today it's going to be her book, Doon, as we would have seen in the flyer. She first appeared in our program in January 22, and the topic was the inspiring women of Kashmir. You can always search and then see in our YouTube channels. A brief intro about Rohini ji. Born in Kashmir, Rohini ji witnessed the terrorism which forced her family to flee from Kashmir, forgoing the privileges of living in native land, the luxury that fellow Indians have been enjoying. After her master's in Europe, she spent 2 decades in leadership roles in the corporate sector. Amarnath Vaishnavi Foundation, the name of her illustrious grandfather, she has been supporting the education of Kashmiri Pandits living in migrant labor camps. She is a columnist in Times of India and editor of Chronicles of Kashmir book by Bakrishan Sanyasi. This was also reviewed in our book review sessions. Now, Dr. Gnanam. Dr. Gnanam comes from the family of doctors, daughter of our legendary doctor, Dr. R. Venkatraman, well known as Dr. RV in and around Kumbakonam area, South India. Dr. Gnanam is Chief Medical Officer of Dr. Arvind Vision Care, providing great medical care, vision care in and around Kumbakonam. Dr. Venkatraman Memorial Trust, where she is involved, in her father's name, done the first eye transplant in Kumbakonam in 2014 and has been regularly doing eye donations exceeding 1,000 per year. Dr. Gnanam holds medical degrees from Stanley Medical College, Chennai, and has been taking care of patients for several decades, maybe 30, 40 years, she will explain. We are privileged to have her as she gives regular feedback on our Kashmir series, and the live series listener visited Kashmir and understand the Kashmir issues, particularly the plight of Kashmiri Pandits. I always discuss with Dr. Gnanam about Kashmir and about our programs. Now, Doon and Other Stories is not just a conventional storybook. As subtitle says, it's about displacement and identity as an emotional background and revolving around Kashmir. We are going to be discussing all about that. And I would first request Dr. Gnanam to say a few words and start our review session.
Anantakoti Namaskarams to Kanchi Kamakoti Peedam and Pujya Shri Periva. Thanks to Shankar, I went through the book Doon, written by Rohini ji. I want to ask her what instigated her to write this book. Maybe the imprint in her subconscious mind during her early days. How was her education and college education in that disturbed atmosphere? Are you still in contact with your school friends and college friends? Yes, I want to know. And I wrote a book, 5 short stories. First one is Yusuf. Second one is The Bedside Lamp. The third one is Destination. Fourth one is Doon. And the fifth one is Shireen. Of the 5, I liked Yusuf the best because as a small boy of 10 years, the last conclusion is that he tells the grandfather of Avinash to consider him as his Avinash. And you have mentioned about Gar Devata. I don't know, we call it as Kula Deva in our areas. And what is your Gar Devata in Kashmir? And the second thing, the thing is what is it? Kashinath, that story, that was also very nice. The Shireen, as far as I am concerned, these two were excellent.
Okay.
And it's up to you to answer.
A lot of questions, Okay, first of all, I am very grateful to Kanchimat for having me here once again. And thank you to Mr. Shankar. And it's definitely a privilege to be speaking with Dr. Gnanam. And my pranam to His Holiness. So you've asked me many questions. I'll try to answer them one by one.
What made you to write this book after a long time?
Yeah. The intent behind writing this book was that I've always felt that the narrative of the mass exodus of Kashmiri Pandits was suppressed for a very long time. It did not come out in the media. And when when we were displaced from Kashmir, we got on with life, trying to handle the basic issues of life and settling down. And that was certainly not the time when large number of us could have written ourselves. So we've been the victims of narrative as well. And I think narratives play a very important role in the destiny of an individual or a community or a country. And since I had gone through it myself, I wanted to bring out the true version of the story, the way I felt it, the way I observed other people trying to deal with it. So this thing has been actually happening for a very long time. It's been in my laptop, I would say, since 2011 or 12. But that was a time when I was quite caught up with my professional obligations. I had a small child, and so finally, this came out, and storytelling was something which I have been doing since my childhood. As a student, I used to write short stories just for fun, so it was always there. And non-fiction was not my cup of tea, so I chose to write stories in a manner that any individual can connect with these stories, because they deal with human emotions. They deal with the emotion of love, emotion of loss, longing, home, and in the background runs the displacement. The context is displacement, but any human being can connect to those emotions and those feelings. And I wanted to bring them out in the form of a story which is enjoyable, stories that are enjoyable, and with some suspense, with drama and action also, so that people enjoy. Every person is able to relate to it. Anyone who is not interested in Kashmir also can relate to it, but in a subtle manner, they communicate as to what the true story of what actually happened in Kashmir, which made people to, run for their lives, and how they dealt with them, the emotions that they went through, the intangible loss that they went through. And in fact, in these five stories, I have tried to cover people belonging to both the genders, people belonging to different age groups, because each age group had to deal with a different set of emotional issues. This is mostly about the emotional trauma that people went through, the intangible loss that they went through. um, there are a lot of people who do not enjoy reading history or non-fiction. They like to read stories, so it's an easy read, so that they enjoy the stories, but at the same time, the truth about the displacement also comes out. So that was my motivation behind writing. And your next question was about the my classmates, whether I'm in touch with them. Yes, now I am in touch with them. But there was a long period in between when we totally lost contact, because we did not grow up in the age of social media. In fact, even the landline phones were very rare at that time. It in 1990, I was in the first year of my college, so we lost touch. But then, with the coming in of this social media, we got back in touch after a very long time. It was long time later. And your next question was about Doon, the story.
Doon, Doon. Is there a story? You have written Doon. You have written that Doon is a Kashmiri name of walnut. Is there
Yes.
any specific speciality in offering Nivedanam to Shiva on Shivaratri day?
See, Doon, basically, this Doon story, as you have read, um, this walnut is very significant and integral part of um,
Yes.
the Shiv Puja during Shivratri. And Shivratri is not celebrated on one day, it's a month long festival actually in Kashmiri Pandits. Now, Shivratri, it's kept in different pictures. One picture symbolizes Lord Shiva. Another picture symbolizes Goddess Parvati, and then there are other smaller ones who are the Bhairavas of Lord Shiva, and each one has walnuts in it. Um, so now this walnut, it's used in the puja, and after the puja, it is distributed to family, friends, people of all religions, and the daughters are giving big, huge baskets of walnuts for Shivratri, which they take to their homes. So this walnut, basically, it's a binding force. I would say the whole festival and the significance of walnuts in it, where there is a give and take, it's a kind of a it creates bonding amongst people. So I to my brain it occurred that this is a symbol of I would say a collective identity of the Kashmiri Pandit community. And in the story Doon, this ritual has been described with the sole purpose of showing that after the displacement, how the rituals associated with it diluted, and there is a comparison because I go back and forth. So there is a clear comparison as to how it was diluted. So the culture, the identity is very much embedded in the geography, the place, because you
Yes.
have to get water in that picture from Jhelum. Jhelum doesn't exist elsewhere. So the intent was to show that how your identity gets diluted. However, you might try to replicate this, which is shown in the story also, that he has to get in Bangalore, he has to go somewhere very far to get those walnuts. His wife is now Kashinath's daughter-in-law is a Kannadiga, and she is very
Ah,
cooperative. She wants to follow these rituals, and she says, "Okay, let's get the water from Kaveri." So that's the dilution which happens. And then the third generation is now in Stanford University in US. He knows it's Shivratri. He doesn't even remember it's Shivratri on that particular day, but he knows there is a connect with this walnut, with this Doon. But his connect with the walnut is not same as his grandfather's connect with the walnut. So this story actually shows the three generations of people who have a connect with all these culture, the walnut, the Doon, but the connect over a period of time gets diluted. The third generation doesn't know the language also, even though he feels that there is a bond, but he doesn't know the language. And the emotional problems of the middle generation are also depicted, that he's somewhere between that world and this world. He's adapting because he was young, his education happened outside Kashmir, he's doing a job, but at the same time his soul is somewhere left behind. And Kashinath, he is a middle-aged, he got displaced when he was middle-aged, he lost his business. So his life, most of his life was spent there. So he's totally lost, and then he falls prey to dementia. He's constantly looking for his pomegranate tree, the pansies, and so he's in that state of mind. So that's the significance of Doon, um, and why this book is actually named as that.
and Gar Devata.
Okay. We had this concept of there is someone who is a devta, who who sits in the attics of our homes. We used to have slanting roofs in Kashmir, and the space between the ceiling and that slanting roof, that attic, that used to store things from generations. We would find our clothes, and I don't know, books which my great grandfather would have read. Those are the kind of things which would be kept there, but that was some kind of a mysterious place where this Ghar Devta stays. And as kids we were told that Ghar Devta is there to protect us. And if we do something wrong, he's going to punish us. So it was kind of a reinforcement for good and bad. So, and then the story also describes the ritual in a very elaborate manner, where the food was offered to Ghar Devta on a particular day during the winter months, and it used to be a family celebration where all the extended family and everyone would be together and they would dine together after offering puja. So that's the concept of uh, Graha Devta, Ghar Devta, as we call it.
Now, just to add to some of the things she was narrating, the Doon that you was talking about, that walnut, when in the south we give tersam, no? After that the ceremony is over, they come and then give tersam, the holy teeth. Walnut is part of that. Walnut would be in some of that, on the ovens, and they distribute as prasad. I saw
Yes,
that during Yajnapadit. So
yes,
that carries that significance. And the Graha Devata you were talking about, you remember in our villages, we have the same machul. We try to threaten kids, there is a machu carry or something, just to make sure that if somebody is there. See, something similar to that when I was reading, they have something similar what we have in the attic and all that.
That Yusuf was attracted by the elephant headed picture.
yes. In fact, Yusuf is a story that is also very close to my heart because
Oh,
it's kind of an imagination that how would the small kids who were not aware of what has happened in the past think of this? Like we might imagine, oh, who are these people who used to live here? And so this Yusuf boy, he finds in the attic some of the, I would say the left things that were left behind by this family who originally inhabited this house, a Kashmiri Pandit house. But now, later, it was sold to um, his father Salim. And he finds in the attic an old notebook which has all those simple symbols of Ganesha, which is an elephant god in this story, and even Vishnu, and then the story of Ghardevta. So he becomes curious and he tries to ask questions about this. Ki, what is this? I've never seen it. I was never taught this in the school. And then he walks around and he sees these dilapidated houses, and he gets into one of them and sees that everything is lying the way in any home there would be a sofa or a bed or a kitchen, but it's all there are spider webs. Nobody is living there. How is it possible? So he becomes inquisitive. He wants to unearth what would have happened. Who could these people have been? So it's my imagination that what would be the mind of a small kid who has not seen this, who is innocent, and then nobody answers his questions because nobody wants to go back there. But finally, he finds this man who lives in a temple, uh, the Kashmiri Pandit man who's been living in the temple, and he gets his answers. And his biggest motivation remains his mother's illness because doctors are not able to cure her. And he thinks that probably Ghar Devta will cure her because he can do anything. Because in that story, in the notebook, Avinash has written that Gurdevta can do anything. So this little boy's heart, it becomes hopeful suddenly, and it becomes a motivation for him to unearth what is this. And nobody is answering my question, and only this man has the answers. So it's a his exploration, his thoughts, and the mother and child bonding, which is there in the story. And ultimately, the child is child's heart is always immaculate, pure, and in the end when he comes to know about this, he tells this old man that the Avinash is no more.
yes.
He is a victim of terrorism. So, and then old man's eyes are full of tears, and he tells him that, why do you worry? I am also like your Yusuf. So this is a very wishful ending. Um, and yeah, a very wishful ending, depicting how a particular community is identity again is completely lost, after so many years, because lot has happened which has obliterated the identity. Now this young little boy is trying to, I would say, excavate again and try to bring it forth.
Uh, what do you think of unity in diversity in culture, traditions, customs, religion, etc.? Do
Well,
you
I would
like
say
it?
that, sorry.
Unity in diversity in culture, customs, conventions, religion, and other things.
See, I would say that I personally I believe in the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. There is
Ah,
no better way to live. In the
exactly.
story also, if you have read the bedside lamp, in
Yes.
bedside lamp, uh, there is this, there is a conversation between the, when this lady Nina gets kidnapped. There is a conversation between the captor, who is a young boy. He has handlers. This young boy, when he comes to know that she can speak the same language as his, he sees an immediate bond. Then they talk about the places in Kashmir which they both have visited, and they talk about the college, they talk about the music, they talk about the lyrics. So there is so much common. So these, in the context of this book, these are the elements of identity which were common between them. But as soon as he hears the footsteps of his handlers coming, suddenly he becomes like a stone, and as if he never bonded with her, over the language, over the places that are common between them, or the art forms, or the music. And suddenly everything changes, and he remembers the purpose why this lady is here. She is captive here, she's been kidnapped, and everything falls flat. I hope I answered your question.
You mentioned about
How do you?
humming as humming, a tune that he was able to recognize, right? You mentioned about.
Yeah, they were able to recognize the tune, they were able to recognize the person who has written the lyric, and they discuss so many places, and everything's looks so nice. But then, when he remembers his agenda, the whole concept of unity and diversity, it falls flat.
How is Kashmir now for you?
For me, it's still too far. Till the time I don't feel that I can live there the way I used to live 34 years back. It's too far. I'm a tourist there.
Had you been there in the recent?
Yes, I went in 2022, and that was the first time after 1990. I went there. We were there for 3, 4 days. We went around and came back.
No, no, during my last visit, going around and been there a couple of times, the driver was showing most of the properties, and he was telling all these properties, they belong to Kashmiri Pandits. So I was wondering, like you mentioned, maybe there would have been something left in the houses, which is what I think in your story you have covered. But most of them are deserted now, right? Nothing is in the house. They're all in a dilapidated condition that you mentioned.
Yes.
So, did you go around and did you see your place?
Yes, I saw my place, and in fact, we had sold it off. It was kind of a distress sale, and now there were totally different people living in that house, and the house looked the same more or less, not in a good condition, but um, the people who lived were totally different. There were some people from UP who were working in JNK. They lived there on rent, but the owner, I don't know, purchased it, but they were all tenants living there. Yes. So in the bedside lamp story also, it's she goes back, and the only thing that she tries to remember is basically, bedside lamp doesn't cost much, but the value is in terms of the emotional attachment that you have with those things. Um, because her daughter had gifted that
Exactly.
to her, so it had a different value. So the story is about the intangible loss. I have not really touched upon the financial losses,
Yes,
but I
yes.
have only talked about the intangible losses and the emotional trauma that people faced.
What do you feel if the common civil code comes into effect?
Well, I think it's good for all. That's all I can say. It's good for all.
Well, definitely, it's good for all. But actually, in North only you have borne the brunt of the invasion and everything. In South, we never had so much of problems. So we never knew all these problems and the disturbances. So I
Yes,
have a feeling that the common civil code will definitely help the nation.
I think it's going to be the
One of my classmate from one of my classmates from Bangalore, she went to the Pakistan occupied Kashmir now, 4 months, 3 months ago, to see that Sharada Devi temple, and she went and saw the temple.
okay.
And she came back.
Yeah, she is actually she is in US with her daughter and son, but she has come here for her grandson's Upanayanam next week. So she came here
Oh.
last week and she showed me the pictures. But as you say, too much of security there. But they gave permission to go and see the temple.
I think they probably gave because she was carrying a US passport. There is no way they would allow Indians to go anywhere near. That could be a reason.
They went from Yatiraj Swami Mutt from Bangalore. Some
Oh.
nearly 40% went. Only three of them went to the temple in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Not all. They were all afraid. Only these three people they have gone.
Now, whatever we see in this part of Kashmir, the same thing applicable in POKJ too, right? It'll be similar stories there. But that would have been completely taken over, right? At least to some extent, we see houses still there, some heritage and all that. But Pakistan side, everything would have been finished except the Sharda temple.
I have no idea about that, about the POK and what happened there. The stories don't touch upon that. The stories are primarily upon the Indian side of Kashmir.
But similar story I have heard from my father's friend who studied medicine in Lahore, and he came for obstetrics and gynecology to Chennai in Women and Children Hospital. He saw a photographer with my father, and tears were rolling on his cheek. Then we asked, I never knew that it was true. They were driven out of Lahore and they came out without taking anything, not even the photos. That's what he told. The same thing now you are telling.
See, displacement, wherever it happens, I think the experiences, the intensity of the loss, I'm not only talking about the loss of the property, I would say the emotional, that the feelings would remain the same. It's all about losing your home and your childhood, your roots. It's about being uprooted. So I'm sure the stories are the same.
But I think we will have a nice and beautiful Kashmir soon. I wish and pray that we get it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
With the Kashmiri Pandits living there.
Practically,
Yes.
we live on hopes.
Start living. No, I was going to ask you one question. Obviously, this book is not aimed at Kashmiri Pandits, right? They know most of the stories. They understand all that. Is that aimed at next generation, like uh, generation of millennials or generation X or Z? What generation you are aiming this book at? I know you told the other day in the book fair, few Muslim families also bought the book, and one kid was very curious and wanted to talk to you about this.
Yes, yes.
So, you getting any feedback on this?
In fact, yeah, this is a very relevant question. The Kashmiri Pandits today, they know it all. Reading it again, definitely. I mean, I've got feedback from Kashmiri Pandits itself, and they relate to it, and they like it. The current generation, people who have already experienced this. But my intent, as I earlier also said, my intent of writing this book is basically to leave a narrative behind me, uh, something that we have experienced ourselves, so that our coming generations know what exactly has happened. And as I said, not everybody likes to read history. So, storytelling, I think, is the most powerful way of communicating any idea. So, the target market for this book is basically anyone, and it's an easy read. The stories have been written in a manner that they basically touch upon the emotions of love, emotions of loss, the feelings of a mother and a child, the feelings of a separation, love. So any person can relate to these stories, whether or not they have anything to do with Kashmir. And since they are, there is that action also in it. There is adventure, there is suspense, like it was destined story. There is a suspense till end. This girl, she is mistaken as being dead, but that it's also a story of treachery. It's a story of treachery by those very people who were trusted some time back, who were your own neighbors. And these are facts. And the story, it was destined, it has come from a real uh, incident. How she she is lost, and in the end, that letter reveals where she is, and it's a fact. It's written in a story form, but it is a fact. These things have happened. So anyone can relate to these stories, irrespective of age. You asked a 14-year-old to read this, 15-year-old to read this, and but in the background runs the context of the displacement of Kashmir, and in a very subtle manner, it communicates very important aspects of, for example, the story of Shireen. The story Shireen talks about the transition, the gradual change in the environment in Kashmir in the year 1988, 89. How it compares both, when the environment was very happy, how people used to be integrated, and what kind of conversations happened in public, in neighborhoods, and then suddenly there is this eerie silence which gradually seeps in. There is this sudden distrust between people. They look at each other with suspicion, and this is true. So it shows that social milieu, how it changed slowly. All these things are captured, so which I think any human being will connect with, but at the same time it tells the truth about the mass exodus of Kashmiri Pandits from Kashmir. And many aspects, like in the stories, it was destined, and even in Shireen you'll see the mention of the incident of 1990, 19th January, which was a turning point. And that is the reason why Shireen and Vikram, who were in love with each other, they are finally they are separated forever, because there is this sudden change that happens which was not anticipated. So these are interesting stories of people, of human lives, but also stating the facts about Kashmir and the exodus. So this particular event of 19 January 1990, it changes everything, and then it also talks about how this girl, she goes in the refugee camps, and what kind of pathetic state people lived in those camps, and it is all true. How the old people died because they could not bear the that standard of living, where there were missing basic amenities and um, comforts of life which they were used to. So all this has been projected, but there is a story going on about their love and their separation and the loss. So I think your question, that who is it meant for? It's meant for every human being who loves to read stories, because it touches all kind of human emotions, but in a subtle manner brings out the facts.
Dr. Gnanam, is it okay with your timing? I know it's a peak time for you and patients are waiting outside.
Yes, yes,
Is it
yes,
okay for you
yes.
to stay for some more time?
I think they are waiting. But one thing I want to tell, Rohini, there was not even an iota of hatred in your writings. Hatred towards the others. It is amazing. Having undergone so much of problems, not even an iota of hatred. You should be congratulated for that.
Thank you. That was the intent, because this book is for the coming generations, and we have to build bonds, but at the same time we have to state the facts. Thank you.
Yeah, it's written in a style that there is no hatred at all. And people may, reading the story, may not really get what is behind all that. The emotional part is so strong there, and the violence and the hatred, like we see in the movie. I was going to say it's a milder version of Kashmiri Files. Kashmiri Files is video, full of what you see, whereas it's more of emotional writings in this. That part is very well handled in the stories.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Gnanam, if you have to go, or no more questions to Rohini, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Dhyanam, for being here. It was
Thank
really a
you.
privilege. Thank you. Namaskar.
So I'll give you feedback later on. Thank you.
Okay.
Now, I was going to say, after having done 98 episodes here on Kashmiri series, what reflects in your book is the same thing that I keep hearing: coexistence, inclusivity, tolerance. That is very well said in the book. And that is why I feel every tourist should read this book. In fact, there is one tour operator. She's planning, this is all high net worth individuals type of tour, spending so much money, staying in five-star hotels, and they're going to visit Kashmir in March. I was going to suggest to her to give this book to all the tourists who are going, so they understand it is not just Dal Lake or going to Pahalgam and coming out with an impression, oh, beautiful and so nice. What is behind, who all left, the trauma and, the tragedy. It's like Dr. Gnanam was telling, very nicely explained, without any hatred. And as you know, in the media, it's all hatred everywhere.
Yes. It's either hatred or it's, as if nothing has happened there. So it's two extremes. I also read Facebook posts of people who go there. They like the place, hospitality and everything, which is fine. But to people, to Kashmiri Pandits who have lost everything there and, been forced to leave, for them that there is a common feeling of shock that everything looks nice as if nothing has happened, but definitely there are some people to whom something really major has happened, and they are also same tourists for that place as the other tourists, which is a tragedy, because being a tourist in your own home, there's nothing worse that can happen. And therefore, yeah, as you rightly said, if the book is given to the tourists, this would serve as knowing the history of the place. A lot of people, they visit different places, they do read about that place, but what happens is that if we have people from our own country going, they may not feel the necessity to know the history because it's our own country.
Right.
So we don't take it that way. But if some foreign tourists are coming over, they do a proper research about the place that they are
Right.
visiting. When I have visited abroad, I have done research about the cultural sensitivities and a lot of other things about the history of this place. So, yes, I think people, if they know the history of the place that they are visiting, and in this manner, as you said, that there's no hatred, but at the same time, the facts have been stated, there's no better way.
No, I'll explore that. I'll talk to her again and see if these tourists can read this book. And it's a very easy read. I could see it's about 127 pages. Sorry, it is coming on the opposite side. Easy to read. People can finish your book in about 2 hours time, less than 2 hours.
Yes.
That's all the
So,
time it takes.
yeah.
And also, surprisingly, I found the price is not $29.99. If this has been in New York list, it'll be $29.99, and it's not even $2.99, right?
Yeah. Yes. It's,
So anyone can buy this book. In
yeah.
fact, we will see. Maybe you should translate this book into different languages.
Yes, I
And
think.
then write a review in the local newspapers. There are a lot of books coming in local newspapers, review of books. This could feature very well. Now that Kashmir is gaining importance, people are reading about Kashmir, and
Yes.
this would go very well in local languages,
I
I
think
think.
tomorrow there might be a review coming in the JNK's newspaper, the Daily Excelsior.
Okay.
That's in the offing. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you for appearing in our program, giving an opportunity to interact with you as an author. I know all these are conducted by you, all the
Yes.
book review session. You're part of our team doing this, but for a change, it's so nice to have you here. And we will see how we can promote the book.
Sure, we can discuss that. Today I'm on the other side of the table, and it's really been a privilege and an honor to be speaking to you and to Dr.
Let us see
Gnanam.
the book comes properly now. Yes, this is
It's
a
coming,
book.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming properly. And I also got this one on this. Those who want to, that barcode is fine, right? There is a barcode there.
Yes, it works. Yes, it
It
does.
works. So I'm sure most of you are holding Prime membership in Amazon. So this is no postage involved. It's 250 rupees. It's worthwhile buying this book and reading. So get an idea about what people missed learning about Kashmir, other than the Dal Lake and the nice sceneries, and more about temples. We seem to know more about the temples of Kashmir, but not this background. I think the stories have been very well told and nicely written, and a book that everyone should read. Thank you so much for appearing
Thank
in our
you.
program, and I look forward to seeing you again with more book reviews.
Yes, I think I should be back with some more very eminent authors, and we'll have more book reviews. Thank you for
Good.
having me here. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohini ji. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, viewers. This is a different session today on this book, Doon. I recommend that you buy this book and go through before visiting Kashmir. If you've not been there, this book will be a good guidance on what existed in Kashmir before cross-border terrorism. And same thing I mentioned earlier, coexistence and inclusivity. That's what all Kashmiri Pandits talk about in our program. So till we meet again, I want to thank Kanchimat channels, YouTube, Facebook, Kamakodi.tv, VDSP for streaming right from day one, and Dinamal, that is giving us a great support, publishing about our Saturday programs regularly in Dinamalar edition, Chennai. Till we meet again very soon, Jai Jai Shankara, Hara Hara Shankara.